Hey, Taylor Rapp here from the LA Rams. Shout out to Steve Taylor, the real sports guy, and the honorary Ram. When Steve's talks sports, you better listen. Thanks, Steve from the Rams, for your continued support and love.
Hi, I'm Tim Elkhorn, the radio play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're watching Keeping It Real Sports.
With Prince Bell, we rocking with Keeping It Real Sports, and we gonna be on this. We gonna be on a lot of times. I love the platform. Check in. It's the new wave. Like, follow, subscribe, and do all that good stuff.
Come on, come on. I told you I got you. Wanna talk about his game, he can talk about it. Tennis, match, golf, he can talk about it. Don't matter what it is, he can talk about it. Any sport dude, he know about it. Say your boy bum, don't doubt it. If he tell you that it is what it is. The real sports guy in the Sandman. Talk show game in the bag, man. Rep, don't have to throw the flag, man. Steve Taylor, Andy Sands. It's over, OVA. Game over, they don't play. From the fourth quarter to the ninth inning. NASCAR wheels keep spinning. To the 18th hole, he's still in control. Guy on the go. Coach never missing the play, cause he know the deal. This keeping it real. Sports. Come on. Keeping it real. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go, indeed. I am your boy, the real sports guy. He is the Sandman, Andy Stanzada, and we have another edition of Keeping It Real Sports as we transition from the NFL to the NBA. Man, we've got a great guest, Tim Alcorn, the voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He'll join us later on. We've got the first edition of Between the Gloves going on, and Andy, we've got a great show, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, Steve. The sun's out, it's February, so it's cold, but that's not a big deal. We got a great show. I'm excited to have Tim back. We got a really great interview with him coming up later in the show.
Yeah. Well, Tim always seems to bring great insight to the NBA because he sees all of these teams. I mean, this dude is all over, man, this country, man, and, so he sees it all, man.
Yeah, speaking of seeing it all.
Yeah, well, that would be us, man, because we've got a little crack staff that kind of finds a lot of things for us and helps us out because we've been having the luxury of working in conjunction with our good friends, the local ESPN affiliate here. So, man, we've got a crack staff that helps us find some things, and we've got some things that are hot off the press. Let's go to it, Andy.
When we say we've covered it all, Steve, I think this exactly exemplifies that. How about local PG grad Craig Caswell being the first person to ever see all 363 Division I basketball schools in person? That, my friend, is quite the accomplishment.
Yeah. He says, hey, it was quite pricey, but
I'm sure it was.
Got it done. He finished the feat, man, this past Wednesday. But my hat's off to Craig Caswell. Hey, he got it in. You know who else is getting it in? We are. Check this out. Let's go to quick hitters. Quick hitters.
All right, Steve Taylor, it's a new month, which means there's a new pay-per-view tonight for the WWE fans out there, and I'm one of them, as you already know. But this is a big one, my friend, the Elimination Chamber. Tonight from Montreal, Canada. It's the local guy, Sami Zayn, who turned on the Bloodline and Roman Reigns. Can he get his ultimate revenge by taking away the championships from Roman? We'll have to wait and see later on tonight. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. I tell you what else, man. Hey, I tell you what I'm excited about. He's back. I'm talking about Tiger Woods, and he's sitting right on the cut line, people. He shot a 3 over yesterday, so he's sitting at +1 for the tournament. The cut line right now is +1. They have to finish the second round to see if he indeed makes the cut. I've got a feeling he's gonna make the cut.
It's going to depend on how everybody else that finishes does, Steve, because if they go 1 or 2 more under, I don't think he makes it, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it'd be great for golf to have Tiger make the cut, especially after being away for so long, but we'll have to wait and see. But you know what? We talk about all the time what a great athlete Michael Jordan was. How about a great philanthropist, too? Look at this. He turned 60 years old earlier this week. He makes a record $10 million donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I always have respect for Michael Jordan. I have even more respect than I ever have after seeing something like that. Hats off to you, my friend. That is tremendous.
I tell you, man, what I'm looking at, man, is the NFL's response, man, to the tush push. Is it legal or not? Some people seem to think that it's not legal, that these guys nosedive and they get the push from the back of the quarterback. I got a feeling that this thing is going to be outlawed next year. Just saying.
I think they have to, Steve. It's an automatic. It was an automatic for the Eagles throughout the entire Super Bowl. Every time they had 3rd or 4th and short, you knew that's what they were going to do, and they converted every single one of them.
Yeah.
You can't stop that because it's illegal.
Listen. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Oh, by the way.
All right, Steve, let's start it off with a melancholy, oh, by the way. We lost a good one this week. Tim McCarver, the voice of baseball, passed away at the age of 82. I remember watching him growing up as a kid in all the World Series games. Obviously, he worked a lot with Joe Buck before they made the change over at Fox, but he's going to be missed as we get ready to start the baseball season, no question about it.
Well, hey, yeah, melancholy one. But I tell you what, man. Hey, let's pick it up, man. You football fans, man, that are down because football, the season is over. Not so fast, my friend. I'm going to tell you what, the XFL, and Andy, 3 years ago, I was on ESPN Radio. I had a local show where I was talking about sports, and we were deep into the XFL when the pandemic hit and stopped the season. Well, the Rockets came in. He's re-energized it. He centralized the hubs. They had drafted over 500 players. This here league is going to reboot today. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be exciting. XFL.
Bigger names going into that draft than the USFL draft, which starts in April with their second season. All right, let's talk. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl here in a little bit, but some news this week from the Super Bowl as a downfall for the Eagles, Steve. Both of their coordinators are no longer there. Jason Gannon, the local Cleveland product, by the way, gets hired away to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and then Shane Steichen gets hired away to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. So now the Eagles have to go back to the drawing board and find 2 new coordinators after going to the Super Bowl.
Well, speaking of Super Bowl coordinators, Eric Public Bieniemy, he leaves and goes to Washington, where he'll be the man. There'll be no question whether he'll call plays or not, because he'll call plays. There'll be no question about the staff that's around him, because he'll put that staff into place. So now Eric Public Bieniemy will be the assistant head coach to Ron Rivera. So there you go.
All right, we got more NFL. We're not done just yet. Let's get into the hurry up.
Hurry up.
All right, Steve. So there was another big story besides the Super Bowl this week, and it was the release of Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. You and I are behind him 100%. They wanted to trade him. He said that's not happening. They forced his release. He got what he wanted. Now, a rarefied era in the NFL for free agency, he actually gets to go and pick where he wants to go. He's not going to get traded. He's not getting franchise tagged. Steve, this doesn't happen very often in the new salary cap era.
Serves him right, man. That's, that goes to show you, man, when you play by the rules, man. He did that. They shorted him at the end of the season where he couldn't pick up his incentives. Well, he's like, you're not going to get any draft capital because of me. My hat's off to Derek Carr. I'm riding in the car. I'm rolling with you, Derek Carr.
Where do you have him going, Steve? Where do you think he's going to end up?
He'll be in the south of the NFC, probably the Saints.
Okay. All right. He's visiting the Jets this weekend. That's where a lot of people have him going. But I'm with you. I don't think he goes to the Jets.
So, Andy, before we look forward, we got to look behind, man. Let's look and see what happened that ended with the Super Bowl on Sunday. And as we predicted, Kansas City, here I come. The title's back there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, I want to give both of us kudos because we went against the grain. We went against everybody else on other shows, and we picked Kansas City because we knew ultimately, Steve, what happened in that second half would be the difference in the game. We knew that Kansas City had those capabilities within them. They finally came to fruition. They stepped up. Mahomes wins MVP. You got outstanding coaching on both sides of the ball. I don't think Spagnuolo gets enough credit for what he did shutting down the Eagles offense. After giving up 24 points in the first half, he holds them to 11 in the second. To me, that was a big reason why the Chiefs ended up winning the game.
Yeah. Great points that you have, man. But the big thing that everybody's talking about, Andy, they're saying that it was a hold that determined the game. Give me your thoughts. Did this particular play cost the Eagles the game?
Well, we talk about BDI when we talk about basketball, right?
Right.
Well, my BDI right now sees a holding penalty. Yes, that was a legitimate call. Look at the screen, people. He had his green glove on the white jersey. Maybe if he wore a white glove, he could have gotten away with it, but he had to be fashionable. As you were telling me earlier in the week, great point by you. I stole it. I'm sorry about that, but I had to. And listen, Steve, this is a legitimate call. And, oh, by the way, the player admitted after the game that he held him.
Thank you. There we
go. Stop the
we
rig stuff and just stop it. It was a legitimate penalty.
Here's the thing, Andy. Bradbury had just gotten beat on a whip route earlier. Okay, so that same play, he gotten beaten on a whip route for a touchdown, and before that, it was Osaplay Slay. Now, remember I told you about Osaplay Slay. He got beaten by the same whip route. So James Bradbury was not gonna get beaten again on that whip route, so he held on. That's the first thing you do as a defensive back. You want to grab hold. That's exactly what happened, and we saw the end result. So,
well, if the game was going to be rigged, Steve, they would have brought this back, right? I mean, come on, enough of this stuff. There could be some legitimacy to some regular season games, possibly for betting reasons, but you're not going to make it obvious in the Super Bowl.
Right?
Stop it.
Yeah, because to me that was more obvious because that was definitely a fumble scoop score that Kansas City had. And why do we keep going to commercial breaks with touchdowns and coming back taking touchdowns off the board, people? I mean, can somebody help me with that? Am I imagining this or what?
Yeah, I don't understand that either, but that's Fox for you. That's all I'll say about that one. All right, so we had two outstanding performances, right? Let's talk about the first one. How about this guy in his first Super Bowl, Steve Taylor? He had made one mistake, which, by the way, I said would be the difference in the game. And it was the fumble that got picked up and scored on that you were just talking about. But outside of that, Steve, you couldn't complain about anything else that Jalen Hurts did. He played almost perfect game for his first Super Bowl.
Yeah. Can we end this soliloquy that Jalen Hurts is not a top quarterback? Can we end this, people? I mean, he is a number one quarterback. Let's just kill it. As a matter of fact, there are systems and system quarterbacks. But Jalen Hurts is the damn system. I mean, look at this, man. He rushed. He's responsible for 4 touchdowns, rushed for 3, threw another one, threw for 300 yards, man. I mean, what more do you want the man to do?
Yeah, and based on this graphic, Steve, you think he could have, even though they lost the game, been named MVP?
Well, he wouldn't have been the first player to lose the Super Bowl and win the MVP. Chuck Howley did it in Super Bowl 5, where Chuck Howley won the MVP and lost the game. So we've seen it happen before, people.
I think 1 out of 57. I don't think we're going to see another losing Super Bowl team get an MVP.
It's not like it didn't happen. But let's talk about the MVP.
Yeah, this guy right here, and rightfully so, Steve. I mean, I think he played a perfect second half, honestly. Considering all the concerns about the ankle, and it was bad. You know, they hit him on the high spot again. But, you know, kudos to him and the training staff for getting him ready at halftime. He came back out. Steve, he would have had to break his leg to not play in that second half.
And Andy, how many minutes are in a half?
30.
They played, he had the ball 8 minutes the first half. I mean, what do you expect the man to do?
Right.
He had the ball 8 minutes. If I told you going in that the Chiefs would have had the ball for 24 minutes throughout this game, you would have told me what?
I would have said they probably would have lost the game.
Yeah, okay, but that's because they got my homeboy.
That's right.
Just saying.
All right.
Man.
You know what it's time for? We haven't had this in a long time. I'm excited for this. We haven't had this for a long time.
Man, I know, man. Man, we got to dial up. Man, let's see if we can get, Dre, hey, man, our resident fighter from Detroit. We got to get him in, man, and break down some fights, man, because, man, I've got a few fights that I want to talk about. So with that said, let's go between it. Another edition of Between the Gloves, where we break it down and we keep it real and we give you an inside look at the world of boxing. And for today, we're going to bring in Detroit's own former boxer and Keeping It Real Sports boxing insider, Andre Morton, to kind of break down these here fights. And Andre, how you doing today, my man?
All right, Steve, how you doing, sir?
Man, real good, real good. Man, put a clock up, man. We're going to get to it, get to all the action, and kind of break these 5 fights down, man. You ready to do it?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Let's put a clock up, and we're going to go with the first one. And I'm going to ask you, Dre, look here. Are we getting any closer to Fury and Usyk? We've talked about the Saudis, it taking place over in Saudi Arabia. That seems to have broken down. It's talking more like looking like England. They look like an April 29th date. Is that thing going to happen or not?
I believe it's going to happen, Steve. I truly believe it's going to happen.
Now, let me ask you, if it does happen and when it does happen, who you like in this one?
Well, I like Fury because of his boxing ability, all the tangibles. So I got Fury in this one.
Yeah, that's a real good pick. Man, let's go to, man, what we know that's going to happen, man. We know the deal is done. We're going to get Garcia and Davis, man. The substance of Tank Davis, the boxing ability of Ryan Garcia. Let me ask you, who you like in this one?
I like Davis in this, but it's not going to be an easy fight. I think the intangibles with Garcia and boxing ability, as you said, will give Davis a lot of problems. But I think he still will win.
Okay. All right, let's get to it. We got a minute to go. Let's get to this one. We got Haney against Lomachenko. This thing's going to happen. Who you like?
I like Haney in this one. Because of his youth, and I believe he's going to pull it out. So I like Haney in this one.
Okay, let's get to the next one. We're looking at Broner and Williams, man, the up-and-coming Williams against the Stallion, the old man Broner. Who you like? Real quick.
Real quick, I like Williams in this one to over Broner tonight, that night. So.
And we're coming down the stretch, man. The last one, we got Caleb Plant against David Benavidez. Man, this is going to be a tough one, man. It's a toss-up. Who you like?
I like Benavidez because of his height and his ability to throw punches in bunches. I think it's going to be too much for Caleb Plant.
Well, there you go. Man, I tell you, man, it's been fun, but we got to run. It's Between the Gloves, the 2023 edition. Hey, see you next time.
All right, Steve, it's All-Star Weekend. Here we go. All-Star Saturday night. Let's start it off with the Skills Challenge. That'll be the first event later on tonight. Who do you like in this one?
Man, the brothers Antetokounmpo, man, they seem to, to kind of thrive in this kind of environment, man. So it's hard for me to pick against them brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Do we know Giannis is still playing after hurting
Man,
his
you
wrist?
know what the report says that
This is my favorite. 3-point contest. Here we go. This is a really good lineup. How do you pick a winner here? I'm going to
I don't know, man. I tell you, man, Tyler Hero is a top dude, man. I really, I like him.
Dark horse. I'll go with Damian Lillard as a dark horse. Slam dunk contest. The last couple of years really hasn't been worth watching, but Mac McClung. All right, Mac McClung is making watching. Supposedly, he has two dunk slams that have never been done in the history of the slam dunk contest.
Okay, so let me get you, man. He is a non-African American who graduated from Georgetown. Okay, all right. So he's got street cred. Let me tell you. Okay, so that's who you better watch out for. Matt McClung is who I'm rolling with. Give me the Matt McClung.
All right, I'll take Kenyon Martin. All right, and then team of the week hasn't changed because they've won 12 in a row.
Why should it?
12 in a row. Damn it. The one chance I had was the Cavs when I found they won 12.
Yeah, but I mean, what can you say? And then with Giannis, your best player goes out in the first quarter of the last game that they played against the Bulls, and they still run away with it. You get Lopez that dropped 33 for crying out loud. That goes to show you how deep this team is.
Speaking of deep teams, Steve Taylor, there's one right here in the 216.
Yeah, man. Look here. I got to give him a little bit of love. Because I've been paying attention to these guys, man. I've really been paying attention to these guys. And now that we got my boy, man, coming in, man. So, man, hey, man, let's effort Tim Alcorn, man. Bring him into the show and let him talk about these Cleveland Cavaliers.
Occasionally, Steve Taylor, we get a nice surprise on this show, and we've been able to find somehow we've been able to line up in the past. And he's been gracious enough to join us because it's the All-Star break. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Tim Alcorn.
Hey, guys, it's great to see you again. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite. Thank you very much.
We're honored to have you back, Tim.
Man, we are. The pleasure is all ours, man. Man, you've been busy back and forth all over the country. My gosh, man. In New Orleans on a Thursday night, Cleveland on a Friday. Man, you got to be tired, man.
Yeah, the All-Star break couldn't have come quick enough, not only for me, but I think for the Cavaliers. 61 games into this thing, and it has been a very, very grueling month of January and now half of February. So, yeah, it'll be good to have some days off. But for the Cavaliers, it's kind of a mixed bag because even though they lost to Philadelphia before the All-Star break began, they had won 7 in a row before that. So kind of on a roll. You hope they don't lose that momentum during the All-Star break. But, yeah, I think we're all a little worn down and can use a few days off.
Tim, is this the time of the year where the team can get healthy? If there's a couple of nagging injuries, if you will, Darius Garland obviously has been banged up here and there throughout the season. I know Donovan Mitchell's going to Utah to play in the All-Star game, but he's still going to not have to play as much, so he gets a little bit of rest. But do you feel like it's a good time for the All-Star break for this team to kind of regroup and get healthy to make a stretch run here towards the playoffs?
Absolutely, Andy. I think that's a good point. Now, we've gone through, as you just alluded to, some of those injury things already. But so I don't know if it's necessarily get healthy, but it's get rested. They have been playing some hard minutes, a lot of basketball. There hasn't even been time to really practice with this team. It seems like the schedule has either been every other day, or in some cases back-to-backs. Ironically, we'll start back up with a back-to-back after the All-Star break with Denver on Thursday and Atlanta on Friday. But that being said, you just get a chance to recharge the batteries a little bit. And as I said, it's going to be a sprint to the finish, 21 games following the All-Star break. And with the Cavs right in the midst of that playoff chase in the Eastern Conference, they're going to need to be rested and need to be ready, because the stretch run is going to be fun, but it's also going to be a lot of work as the Cavs finish off before early April and then get ready for that postseason.
Well, you talk about the second half of the season. Are you a little surprised when the deadline came at some of the moves that weren't made, or did you know all along that this is probably what they were going to do, stand pat and then add some shooting in the buyout market?
Well, first of all, I didn't know all along. I like to tell people I'm not on Kobe Altman's speed dial. He doesn't run anything by me. But no, and to be serious, I wasn't surprised that they didn't make a deal. As Kobe said on trade deadline day, once he met with the media when the deadline had passed, there really wasn't anything out there that made the Cavs that much better. He could have made a couple of lateral moves, but there really wasn't that trade out there that took them from this point to this point. So listen, they want to see how this team grows and develops organically. Guys like Okoro and like Garland and like Mobley and even Jared Allen too a little bit. So yeah, let's see what we've got. We'll come down the stretch with these guys. Now, the signing of Danny Green, I thought, is an outstanding addition. You're talking about a guy that has 3 championship rings, one with San Antonio, one with Toronto, one with the Lakers. But the one with San Antonio, he was a key contributor on that basketball team for Pop. And so he knows what it takes to win in the playoffs, 185 total playoff games, plus not just that experience, but a weapon, 39.9 on his career as far as 3-ball shooting. So let's just say 40%, a 40% 3-ball guy. Yeah, he's a sniper. That's a great term. And Donovan Mitchell used that term as well. And so he's going to knock down some big shots for the Cavaliers. I guarantee you, it may not be in those final 21 regular season games, but come postseason, the Cavs are going to be thrilled to have Danny Green on the roster.
Great. So, Tim, as we start to wind this down, let's look back at the first half of the season and talk about some of the highlights that occurred in the first half of the season. In particular, the stat performance by this gentleman right here.
Oh, that was just a remarkable night. Monday night game against Chicago. Cavs had built themselves such a huge hole early on. And then, sometimes there's just one shot or one sequence. Donovan had a shot, and I believe it was a 3-ball right before the half. And you could see his eyes kind of lit up. It ignited him, and it ignited the crowd. And the Cavs went into the locker room still down, but they had a little bit of pep to their step. And then, of course, he comes out in the second half and just catches fire. Just an unbelievable performance in the second half. And then the remarkable play at the end of regulation where he rebounds his own miss off the free throw, puts it back in to send the game to overtime. And you could see at that point, Chicago was completely deflated and Donovan Mitchell was on cloud 9. I mean, that hoop could have been a thimble in the overtime and he would have gotten the ball in there. It was just amazing to watch what he did in that overtime session. So that certainly was the highlight of the first half. But there have been some real high water marks for this basketball team. And I always like to say, if you had known, if I had told you, if I had told you before the season started that the Cavaliers were going to be sitting in the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference, having gone through some tough injuries, having Ricky only come back in the middle of January, and sitting there, through 61 games at 38-23, I believe the record is, would you have taken that? Who wouldn't have said no? So all in all, this has just been a tremendous lead into the All-Star break. But as I said, now comes that stretch run.
Well, there you have it, Steve.
Yeah, I tell you, man, man, we thank you for coming in, man. Man, we know that you're busy, man. Just giving us, man, 5 good minutes of your time, man. That's just great for us, man. Man, I'm gonna take that, spin that off to some of my, my cohorts over at ESPN and kind of let them see how we really getting down, man, down there in the 216. Okay.
Well, listen, I was with you guys a few months ago, and I really enjoyed it. Andy and I go a long way back. And so anytime and anything I can do to help you guys out, I'll be more than glad to do it. The way the Cavs are playing, I love talking Cavs basketball. So,
yes.
Hey, let's do one of these as the postseason gets started, and we'll take a look at how the playoffs shape up.
That sounds good to us.
Absolutely. The one and only, the voice of the Cavaliers, man. Tim Alcorn, thanks a lot, brother.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, Steve, we got to go fast. Here we go. Number 1 last week, lost 2 in a row, so we got him at 5 this week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Purdue Boilermakers, man. But it's called life in the Big Ten, Andy. That's what it is, man. But, I still got confidence in them.
All right, Arizona stays pat. They dropped just 1 spot, but that's because other teams have deservedly so moved up ahead of them. But, Steve, Mr. Consistency, I would say, with the Arizona Wildcats this year.
Absolutely, man. Just pay attention to this program out west, people.
Kansas moves ahead of them because they've won 5 in a row. Watch out for the Jayhawks.
Man, they are on upset alert today because they go against Baylor, so we're going to see how they fare today. Mr. Jalen Wilson, let's see what you got.
Alabama falls to Tennessee earlier this week, so because of that, we've dropped them down to 2.
Yeah, man, tough fall, man. They got into a football game against Tennessee, man. Tennessee very physical, took it to Alabama, but we still like them.
And back at number 1, it's the Houston Cougars. That defense continues to be impressive, Steve.
Man, they will get up in your grill, man, and give it to you from all angles, man. You got to like the Cougars.
All right, and one last thing before we go. We talked about how great the Super Bowl was. Well, it was the most viewed Super Bowl in the history of the Super Bowl being televised. 113.1 million viewers. That's quite the number, Steve Taylor.
It definitely is, man. But when you got a good product, man, and you can sell it, man, it kind of is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the game sold itself. Fox didn't have to do anything.
Didn't have to do much, man. Didn't have to do much, even though the commentary wasn't the best. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Well, that'll get improved.
I think I texted you a couple of times. Yeah, because Tom freaking Brady will be there.
In 24, he's taking a year off. Yeah. Remember that.
Yeah.
And poor Greg Olson, his salary goes from $10 million a year to $3 million. Ugh, that's a big hit.
Gotta pay time. Hey, look, man, for our guests, man, Andre Morton, and for the one and only Tim Alcorn, we thank them for stopping in, man. Man, Andy, it's been fun, but we gotta run.
So until next time, we wish you love
and peace. Chuck them deuces.